A little late, but it's Friday the 13th. So here's a fun fact for you. This movie is the reason I have a Blu ray player. Yeah, because I had to get this box set, the essentials in life. So why do I tell you this? Well, I'm showing you my cards a little bit, alright? I like this movie. It's not awards worthy by any means, unless you're talking about horror movies, say, of the last 40 years or so. But I do genuinely enjoy this movie. Um, I think there are some definite issues with it. I don't know if I would say there are too many of them. Um, I think it's interesting watching a movie, back. This was in 1980, by the way. And it was when Kevin Bacon was a no name, which is hilarious to think about considering you have all the degrees of bacon out there nowadays. But Kevin Bacon's in this, and the rest of the cast is fairly no name with the exception of Betsy Palmer. And yeah, I think probably a good way to describe this would be Halloween on the Lake. You know, if you know anything about this franchise, and we'll get into specific spoilers later on, but it's been almost 40 years. Like, if you don't know the twist, are you even trying? Um, I would say this movie does have one of the better slasher movie twists. Um, and most people would forget that if they actually, came into this whole franchise and came in like movie 5 or movie 6 and didn't realize just how the first movie really ended, you know? Um, so what makes this movie any good anyway? Um, I think for one thing, there's just this sense of rawness that's there. You do feel like you're getting a genuine sense of these characters. They are characters, but they're amusing and they're likable. They're a little rebellious, but not too rebellious. They look college age and they're not like prescribed to be high school students anyway. So you're not watching a bunch of 30-year-olds thinking they're acting like they're 15. They're a bunch of late 20-year-olds and maybe younger 20-year-olds, like just acting like college kids or just, you know, adults fresh out of high school. Not that implausible. Um, on top of that, there is this brooding sense of danger throughout, um, and everyone just starts disappearing, and you're just kind of like, well, what's the deal with that? Um, and then, yeah, as people keep going out of style, then it ends, and then the twist is revealed, and then there's the showdown um, between the survivor girl, which hadn't really been used that much at the time, but by then was starting to get beat in a bit, and the villain. Um, yeah, and then the very end, there's that crazy dream sequence. Or was it a dream? Oh, who knows? Oh. So, all right, I'll just do the spoilers now. So, you've been warned. It's been almost 40 years, but you've been warned, all right? All right, so anyone that's even heard of any slasher movie has probably heard of Jason, okay? He's the guy on the cover of this, all right? But what some people might forget if they're not, clued into the franchise at all, is that Jason's not the original killer. No, it's his mom because she's super pissed because her son drowned in the lake, Camp Crystal Lake. Ooh, because two camp counselors went off and had sex instead of saving him. Now, you know, the context of the opening scene's ridiculous anyway because they just sing this song about milk and honey, and I'm sure it's some, you know, sweet hymn somewhere, but or whatever you want to call it, lullaby. But then they just go upstairs to another building and do it, and then the killer you don't know until the very end is Betsy Palmer's character, Mrs. Voorhees. Um, yeah, she was not happy with them having sex, and then and then Jace they decide, the people that made this movie decide for the future sequels that they're gonna have Jason, be the bad guy throughout, with the exception of like one of the movies. I won't mention which one for now, but yeah, he's pretty much the bad dude in all of them after the first one. But like the Survivor girl, Alice, uh, takes a machete and decapitates Mrs. Voorhees. What? What? Of course, Betsy Palmer, signed on to this movie not because it was any good in her eyes, but because she needed to you know, pay off this car that she was getting. Yeah. Okay, sure, sure. Um, it's kind of amusing in hindsight, um, but yeah, I don't know. She's more known for her TV stuff anyway. So, what you gonna do? I guess some things I would point out about this series, it doesn't really quite play like the other Friday the 13th movies, which is why when folks, kind of give the whole franchise, a hard time for Jason being a silent killer, as I do anyway, and some other folks do. But this one's a little different because the silence, well, one has more of a purpose, and two, um, you know, Mrs. Voorhees is not wired silent. She does talk. She has a conversation with Alice after she pulls up, and Alice is just so grateful to have someone alive, until not very long into it, Alice realizes that, ooh, this lady has lost a lot of her marbles, and I need to run. So in that regard, this plays more like the other films that were out there at the time in terms of, I need to run away from this serial killer as opposed to, ooh, I need to watch out for the boogeyman Jason. And you don't get the sense that this character is naive. You get that Alice is a little skittish with snakes. I mean, one of the guys has to go in there and chop up this snake with a big old knife, machete ass kind of thing. Um, I mean, that's the most that Alice ever gets frightened, and I don't think a lot of people like snakes. I don't think as many folks are afraid of them, but I don't think too many folks really like them. You know what I'm saying? Um, Anywho, what makes this good? Um, yeah, really just the rawness. There's some stuff that doesn't hold up quite as well. I mean, you have a lot. You've got this one guy who's supposed to be the absolute goofball, just really well. He picked up an Native American headdress somewhere, and just like runs around wearing it, and like has his little football jersey like wrapped around his waist, like I don't know, like a towel. And then like the sheriff comes for seemingly no reason to them, but to look up for the town crazy. Pretty much tells it to sit on a tonto and yada yada yada. You're an Indian at the time, I mean, yeah, it's there. It's not really worth picking on more than that. You know, it just kind of is like, yeah, it's 1980. Yeah, sounds about right. Okay, and then you move on. You know. God, in terms of other stuff, Kevin Bacon and the girlfriend that he has in the movie, they have some good chemistry. I mean, they both die. Whoops, but it works while it's there. They kind of have a few moments where you kind of wonder if these movies that seemingly wouldn't rip off Friday the 13th did. They have they have the Sandlot Wendy Peppercorn scene before the Sandlot came out, where the goofball acts like he's dead and needs resuscitating. Or maybe you know what, that was probably way before Friday the 13th. I don't think they invented it. Is what I'm getting at. Another one that they do is they another weird concept that they have is strip monopoly. They never really explain the rules of strip monopoly and never really go that far in the strip monopoly. But I finally got the gist of it after watching it for like 7 times. I finally started to understand what they were getting at. Um, yeah, I mean, like if you land on someone else's property, you strip an article of clothing. Yeah, I don't think it was really supposed to be that much insight into that game. Probably giving it way too much credit there. If you give this movie a little too much thought, you'll notice some ridiculous decisions that are made. They have Alice talk about things to straighten out in California when they're at a camp in New Jersey. They have her like working with the camp owner. You don't know what relationship they had. It's sort of implied that they like I don't know were lovers of some sort. More of the hookup kind as opposed to anything serious. But it never really gets talked about. This is not a romantic comedy by any means, but it is kind of weird to just mention it and never do anything with it. They have a little love triangle with Ned, the goof, wanting Kevin Bacon's girl Marcy. Um, that doesn't really go a whole lot. Doesn't really go a whole lot of places either. It well, Ned's hella dead. And then Marcy and Kevin are doing it in the bunk under Ned's dead body in the top bunk. How do you not at least smell that? I mean, I get you might be so blind to even to even look up at the top bunk, and not care. But how do you not smell that? Man, your nose must be shut off to the max. And then of course they have Kevin Bacon lying on the bed, and then the killer, knows to stab an arrow through his neck. Which, give him points for creativity, but man, that's awfully accurate and a lot of strength. And I don't remember like Bessie Palmer being that type of person. And then of course, they like they have some neck support, or I don't know what the special effect is or the practical effect. It's not special effect; it's practical effect. But but you can tell they use a certain neck each time they slit someone's neck because it has the exact same color, you know, for every single person, even with the different styles of death. I yeah, it is kind of amazing just like what kinds of acrobatics and heavy lifting Betsy Palmer's character supposedly did through all of this. You know, they're more fitting of Jason, which is probably why they switched to Jason in the next one. Plus, when they have little Jason springing up in the lake to hook on to Alice at the very end when she's in the canoe. Um, yeah, yeah, that seems fair. Of course, Jason turns from a little kid at the end of that to full size, adult adult male, you know body type, with deformities. Okay, okay, sure. Um, Point being, I'm going on way too long. Point is, I still like it. I do like it. It's a great first entry for this series. The franchise as a whole can get ragged on, and some of these movies in the franchise are absurd. But I mean, this one plays like a straight thriller who done it. Um, you know, Mrs. Voorhees does seem a little out of place in the entire narrative as a whole. It's not like this one character. It's not like a total, murder mystery game. All the characters are shown at the beginning. She just kind of pops up at the end. But I I accept it. They had someone out there throughout who was nice looking enough to, drive her little Jeep and kill folks when she got angry at them. I have wondered, how how the, teens having sex pisses her off to kill them to now it's just any teens, you know, trying to kill them too. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Ned and Marcy, I understand the slightest bit because they're doing it, but really, the other folks aren't even being, immoral, you know. However, seriously you want to take that or don't. I would take it pretty seriously, but I know some folks don't. But really, it doesn't translate. But the points of these movies really aren't, keeping logic's straight path. It's really more of a, oh wow, like this is the kind of popcorn. Like, how are they going to survive this one, or who's going to survive this one, or you know, what are they going to do with this? Yeah, so I'd say go see it. If you're not squeamish. So that's what I've got. And yeah, I've got my grade here, and then the orders after that in terms of what I've reviewed on this little set of Waldo's Wacky World of Film. So I'd give it a B plus, and that's that. All right. Well, thanks for your listening, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.